Hey guys, Catlin here with your help for your lesson 6 cool down on your algebra homework. We're analyzing these decay graphs where you're losing value over the years as they pass. And we also have looked at some that have exponentially grown. This one is clearly decaying because the dots are shrinking as the time goes on. And it kind of creates this curved exponential function of decay. And as we look at this, we have to choose the story that matches it. So, analyzing the graph, understanding, matching it to a story of how it's growing or shrinking in this case. So, this graph represents one of the following descriptions and which one. Now, if you were in my second period, I think you had a little bit of opportunity to think about this one, and we went over the answer, but first period did not. So, I'm going to go over it, and for those that are absent too. Um, so this one is clearly losing, so that means that I can rule out this one, okay? The number of stores triples every 5 years. That's not gonna make any sense because that would show growth that goes upward. So it's gotta be loses 4/5 or loses 2/5 from year to year. And for me to pick out which one that it is, I look at the first 2 numbers between year 0 and year 1. So in year 0, and I'm gonna make a little table for this, I like that idea. So I'm gonna make a year, versus, value table here. So in year 0, it's the phone camera or whatever is happening here is worth $1,200. And in year 1, after 1 year of depreciation, it looks like it's a little over 700. It's kinda hard to tell. So I'm gonna write 700 plus. And then in year 2, it looks like it's at, a little under 450, so I'm gonna say, 400 plus, somewhere in that range, so on and so forth. So we can really look through that graph. It's hard to find the dot that looks like it's right on an intersection. I don't think there is one, which makes this one a little bit tougher to really figure out, but what we could do here is we've got 2 different opportunities for finding a growth factor. You've got 2 different choices here. It's either gotta be losing 4/5 or 2/5 of its value. So to go from here to here and to get from 1,200 to 700 or whatever it is in that first year, you've gotta be multiplying by a growth factor. Now, you're not gonna be multiplying by how much it's losing. You would be multiplying by how much you're keeping, because that's the amount of money that's left over. So this one right here, it's either gonna be multiplying by a fifth to get that, or because 1/5 is what's left over if you lose 4/5, or multiply by 3/5 because that's what's left over if you lose 2/5. So it's gotta be one of these 2. So if you do 1,200 multiplied by a fifth and 1,200 multiplied by 3/5, let's see what happens. Let's go to our Desmos calculator and see what happens if we do that. So if I take 1,200 and I multiply by a fifth, a lot of you could probably do that in your head. You're not going to have a whole lot left over. It's the same as like taking 1,200 and dividing by 5. Right? You're not gonna have much left over if you split something up that's that large into 5 pieces, but we'll do it just to kinda see what happens. 1,200 multiplied by a fifth, that would look like this. It's only gonna be $240 left over. So I'm not leaning toward the fifth because I've got over $700 on the graph. Let's try 3/5. It's probably gonna work out a lot better if we switch that to a 3. So what if I lose 2/5 and have 3/5 remaining? That matches up with a 720 that I see here in the graph right here. So that means that this is 720 after 1 year. So 720, that makes sense. That means that I lost 2/5 of its value. That's a little bit um, less than half. And 720 means that I've got a little bit more than half left over. So that completely makes sense that every time that I'm multiplying here to get to the next number, I'm multiplying by 3/5, what remains out of the 2/5 that I lost. And that happens every year. I could do that from here to here. If I multiply by 3/5, I multiply by 3/5. If I do 720 times 3/5, I'm probably going to get a little bit more than 400 left over. So that's why I'm choosing this one. My reasoning is that it can't be B. B is not good because. So talk about why B is not a good choice. I already discussed that a little bit. We're not going to choose that one for a reason. And I'm going to say that losing 4/5 of 1,200 would be much lower than $720. That's why I'm not picking A and leaning towards C. So that's kind of what I'm going with there. But don't forget to tell me why B is not good either. All right. But guys, whenever you're given these and you're trying to find your growth factor of multiplying by whatever to get there, it's really best to focus on these first two numbers. Now we didn't know that was 720, so we kind of had to use the numbers that we had and guess and try them both and see which one made more sense. And that turned out to be 3/5. So that's why we're going with the choice of C. See you guys later.